A Tale of Two Captains, a Shoto Todoroki X-Reader. Written by Jules. Chapter 5. You and Kova walked along the top of La Boheme, looking at the cumbersome battleship that belonged to the guard of UA's newest admiral.
I wonder what kind of games we'll play. Do you think you'll indulge me, Koval? Your second mate looked at the ship and shrugged her shoulders. The both of you were thinking the same thing. What would spark up once he had gotten the drive? Only you knew about the virus inside, and judging by his boisterous display of victory, you had a feeling that blowing his fuse would end terribly, which was exactly what you aimed for. The ship lowered to your level, where a tall, red-haired male greeted you with a shark-like smile, the prisoners beside him. You bowed your head and walked to the edge of the Boheme, a drawbridge stretching across and attaching itself to the other side.
Captain, I hope you're willing to cooperate.
The tall fellow began to pull the five of them along. Now that you got a better look at them, it seemed like Admiral Bakugo had roughed them up pretty badly. You looked at Koval and silently motioned to the others, pointing down at the ship. Koval received the message and began to type on a device attached to her forearm. Of course, you told Bakugo. I may be a pirate, but I have manners. I just like to get to know my admirals before I start playing. You took out the drive and held it out to him. Now, Todoroki and his team, please. The spiky-haired male looked at the drive warily. So, he did have a brain. The brute might stand a chance against you in the future now. You leaned towards him a little, so he could take it from you, handing the rope over. Todoroki kept his head bowed, while the others called out to him, wondering if they'd been betrayed by a friend. Oh! The details of his story kept getting thicker and thicker. Thank you, you said energetically, relishing the moment. You helped the newest additions to the top of the ship and waved the new admiral off before retreating to the ship. Koval took every prisoner, except Todoroki, to the med bay.
You wanted him to yourself for now, just to rub in one of the biggest failures in his life.
Oh, don't give me that look. You tugged him along like he was your pet, only making him frown at you more. You'll like it a lot here once you get used to it. You can't seriously tell me you actually like that scrap heap of a ship. You took another look at him when you neared the main deck. He wasn't entertaining you. The crew awaited further instruction, looking at you and Todoroki expectantly. We need to get the hell out of here. That was enough for them to begin to charge a space jump. We're going west to Andromeda. Then we can cruise and think of a strategy before this blonde brat realizes I've tricked him. You walked up to the podium and began analyzing the regional maps, looking for a planet you could loot or just stay a night in. A light shuffling reminded you that Todoroki was still on your floor. You looked down at him and watched as he tried to stand without using his hand. The sight made some of the crew members laugh. He only managed to stay on his knees. Might as well take advantage of the moment before you sent him off to medbay. Well, look at that! Over the course of 4 days, you've managed to get your title stripped from you, your friends kicked out of the only place that gave them purpose, and now you're on your knees before me. I'd make you beg for your life and then toss you off regardless, but since I'm feeling nice, I decided that you and your rats will work for me. You clapped your hands excitedly and kneeled down to his level, using his own gun to make him look at you. It looked like he was still recovering from the sudden loss of power. His eyes stared past you, and his body remained still. You noticed the bruise you'd left on him from your tussle hadn't started healing yet.
Why did you lie to him?
You were taken aback by the question and blinked in response. Pardon? Maybe you hadn't heard him correctly. Had he just completely ignored your previous speech? You stood and returned to the podium. You could feel his eyes on your back, so you answered. Did you honestly think I'd just carelessly throw that information around? Yes, he answered. Well, I'll have you know, if anyone wanted anything from me, they'd have to fight me for it. I thought you knew me better than that. I'm appalled that you think that I'd bend to his will so easily. You looked at him from the corner of your eye. But don't expect any help getting your position back. I still hate you. You added for good measure. You faced the maps again and locked on a location. Someone get him to the med bay and check on him. I'll handle them all after the space jump. RJ dutifully tugged him across the floor away from you. His small curses and threats told you that the Todoroki you were so used to chasing you was still in there.
Beginning countdown. Space jump will begin in 5.
You'd won. The bastard was on his knees moments ago.
4.
The death of your parents would no longer be in vain. You could finally avenge them and live your life.
3.
You tapped your foot impatiently. Jumps didn't usually take this long. Not unless you had too much to think about.
2.
You grabbed the podium, closing your eyes to push out all the thoughts that told you how this was not what you wanted.
1.
The force of the jump pushed you back as millions of stars transformed into a single path of light, guiding you to the next destination. You willed that force to push your thoughts to the deepest, darkest parts of your brain. Chapter 6. Half of the med bay was filled by unwilling occupants, now patched up and bound to the beds they were placed on. Koval stood next to you, cleaning her hands after she finished tending to the most recent visitor, Todoroki. Did you have any trouble? You asked, placing a hand on her shoulder and guiding her away from attentive ears. Koval shook her head. No, but they swore up and down that they would do nothing for you after Todoroki told them your little speech. Well delivered, if I may add. Thank you, Koval. You may go back to the main deck. I'll deal with these lost little lambs and see what I can do. The heel of your boots was the only thing that produced sound in the med bay. All 5 fugitives doing everything in their power not to move or look at you. It was like trying to get a room full of children to listen. They all had quite youthful faces, unscathed and protected by naivete. Or at least, they used to be. I'm going to be frank with all of you. I only wanted one, but now that I have all 5 of you, You were interrupted by the green-haired general who seemed to have quite the fire inside of him. We'd never even look your way, so don't try and use your flirtatious remarks and provocative actions to sway us because it won't work! He made a small noise and turned his nose upward. Never mind. This really was a group of children. It looked like they needed to be dealt with more forcefully. If they wouldn't take your softer words, then they'd have to deal with the power of your bite. Fine. You won't listen to what I have to say? Good. I guess you won't mind being thrown off tomorrow morning. Your dear leader will get to watch you all float into nothingness. Todoroki thrashed against his bindings as you walked away. No, you can't. I won't let you. You stopped, turning to face them once more. Todoroki managed to find a way to sit up, still trying to break free from his chained restraints. His grunts and howls only made the chains rattle. The ruckus caused you another headache. Okay, Todoroki, please. The sound was driving your ears insane now. The screeching metal noise made you grit your teeth. He ignored your pleas and continued to fight the change, determined to set himself and the others free. But you'd had it! That's enough! Stop that noise or I will shoot you where you sit! Your voice startled everyone, their bodies drawing closer into themselves with fear. Well, that was one way to assert your dominance over them. Todoroki, on the other hand, challenged you with his eyes, his lips curled into a harsh scowl. I'm starting to regret taking all of you in, and that is not a good sign, you warned, towering over the beds with your hands behind your back. I'll skip the offer and get straight to the point. Swear loyalty to me or die. If you did your research, you know I'm not one for torture, so grasp as much life as you can and decide quickly. I am not a patient captain. You left them to their own thoughts and decided to take refuge in your office. This process was going to be more strenuous than you'd intended. Albatross.
Yes, Captain.
Do we have any files on former General Bakugo Katsuki?
Yes. Would you like me to read them to you?
I would appreciate it.
Bakugo Katsuki was appointed general about 2 years ago, and has been on duty for about 8 years. He has quite the track record. Violence, probations, and countless other violations of UA protocol.
You threw your head back in annoyance. Ugh, are you telling me I now have a bloodthirsty admiral on my tail?
Yes.
Your hands dragged up and down your face. Ah, curse your ambition! You'd been so solely focused on getting Todoroki that you had forgotten one of his generals was a madman! You needed to get your priorities straight soon. After all, you now had an execution to plan. The tall fellow began to pull the 5 of them along. Kirishima! This dude is just lugging 5 whole people, just like... And these aren't just like 5 civilians, these are like 5 UA students. You got Deku, who's built, Todoroki, who's built, everybody else who's pretty much built, yoked up, and Kirishima's just dragging them along like a bunch of toddlers on a field trip. All right, hurry along, guys. I want some ice cream. Well, Midoriya, we're not getting ice cream today. But you said I could have ice cream! No, we're not getting ice cream today! Get on the goddamn ship! Please, bud? Okay. RJ dutifully tugged him across the floor, away from you. RJ is like this tiny little dude, so the fact that he's just casually dragging Todoroki across the floor, is everyone just yoked? Is that what we're doing here? Todoroki is like a dog on a skateboard with a piece of rope attached to it, and you're just like casually dragging him everywhere. No problem. No big deal. It's fine. Arf, arf. Why do I have dog hairs on my mic cover? That belong to the red-haired feline. What if Koval and Izuku were shipped together? I mean, think about it. They're both really bubbly type characters, okay? And you got the classic trope of the person taking care of an injured individual, okay? Come on. I'm not the only person thinking it. I'm not. I converted you, didn't I? Hey, gotcha. Also, Reader and Koval? If it fits, it ships. Do we have any
Oh, yes, Captain. It's in the files. Right under... and has been on duty for about 8 years.
He said duty. We'd never even look your way, so don't try to use your flirtation. You better tell him, Midoriya. No means no. Midoriya said, I already have a boyfriend. I don't think I can do it, guys. I think this is finally the one line that I can't get it out. We'd never even look your way, so don't try. I can't do it. Okay. Straight face. Straight face. Okay.